Hey everyone! Have you ever really stopped to think about why our world looks the way it does? Not just the cities and roads, but our farms. It turns out there's this hidden economic logic that draws the entire map of our food supply. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how it works.
So, let me start with a simple puzzle for you. Think about it. You'll almost always find dairy farms and vegetable patches right on the edge of a city. But then you drive way out into the country and you see these massive wheat fields that seem to go on forever. Why is that? I promise you, it's not random at all. There's a really powerful economic force at play, and together, we're about to crack the code.
Okay, so to get started, we've got to ask the most basic question any farmer has to answer. What's the whole point? Are you farming to eat, or are you farming to make a profit?
And that question really splits farming into two big categories. First, you've got subsistence agriculture. The goal here is simple. Feed your family, feed your village. You're probably growing a whole bunch of different things. Then you've got the other side of the coin, commercial agriculture. This is farming as a big business. The goal is all about maximizing profit by selling huge quantities of product, which is what we mostly see in developed countries.
Right. And when making money's the name of the game, you gotta be efficient. And that means specializing is absolutely essential to making the whole operation work. Now, you might hear two words thrown around a lot, monocropping and monoculture. They sound similar, but there's a key difference. Monocropping means planting the exact same thing on the same land year in and year out. You know, a field that is only ever corn forever. Monoculture is a little more flexible. It means you're still growing just one thing at a time, but you might switch it up. So corn this year, maybe you'll plant kale next year. Both are just strategies to get really good at producing one specific thing.
Okay, so we've got the why, is it for survival or for profit? The next piece of our puzzle is the how much, as in how much land are we talking about? This brings us to our second big idea, the difference between squeezing and sprawling.
So farming basically breaks down into two styles here. You've got intensive farming, which is all about squeezing every last drop of value out of a small piece of land. This takes a ton of input. We're talking lots of labor, money, fertilizer to get a crazy high yield per acre. And then you have extensive farming, which is the complete opposite. It's all about sprawling out over huge areas with way less input. You get less food from each acre, sure, but you make up for it by having a lot of acres.
So what does this look like in the real world? Well, perfect examples of intensive farming are those super productive rice paddies you see in Southeast Asia, or market gardens growing fresh veggies right outside a city. Dairy farming is also a classic example, and for a really important reason. That milk is perishable. You have got to get it to the store fast before it goes bad.
Now for the extensive side. Think big. I mean, really big. We're talking about those massive cattle ranches in the American West, or Argentina, or the endless wheat fields of the U.S. Great Plains. The products here, like wheat or potatoes, don't spoil nearly as fast. So that long trip from a super remote farm to the market, not really a problem.
All right, we have all the puzzle pieces now. We've got the goal of the farm and the scale of the land. So now it's time to bring in the master key, the one economic idea that connects everything.
And here it is. It's called bid-rent theory. I know, it sounds a little academic, but it's an incredibly powerful concept that explains how the price of land shapes literally everything around us, especially agriculture.
The main idea is actually super simple. Think about it. Everybody wants to be close to the city center, right? Close to the jobs, the stores, the action. Because of that high demand, the land there is insanely expensive. But the further you get from the city, the more that demand drops, and so does the price of land.
Let's just walk through it real quick. Step 1, the city center, the central business district. That's where land costs the most. No surprise there. Step 2, as you move away from that center, the land gets cheaper and cheaper. And that leads to the all-important step 3. A farmer has to look at that price and make a strategic choice. What can they actually afford to grow, and where can they afford to grow it?
So with that final piece, we can now solve the mystery we started with. It's time to put it all together.
Okay, let's start right there on the edge of the city, where land is ridiculously expensive. Any farmer trying to make a living here is paying a huge premium for that location. So, to make that high rent worthwhile, you have no choice but to practice intensive farming. You've got to grow things that are either super high value or spoil really quickly. Think fresh vegetables, strawberries, or milk, things that have to get to the grocery store immediately. A long truck ride is just not an option.
Okay, now let's hop in a car and drive way out, far from the city, where land is cheap and there's plenty of it.
Out here, it's a completely different economic reality.
You can afford to buy up huge amounts of land for extensive farming. It makes perfect sense to grow things that have a lower value per acre, like wheat, or to raise cattle, because you've got all the space in the world. And the critical part? These products are sturdy. They're not going to spoil on the long journey back to the city.
And boom, there it is. That's our answer. The dairy farmer pays a fortune for land close to the city to sell fresh milk that spoils fast. The wheat farmer uses cheap, remote land to grow a grain that can handle the trip. It's all just a big calculation, balancing the cost of land against the cost of transportation and the risk of spoilage.
So this is all fascinating on a local level. But what does it mean when we zoom all the way out and look at the whole planet?
Well, it means the map of our food isn't just some accident of geography or climate. Of course, climate plays a huge role. But at its core, the global food map is drawn by the simple, powerful, and invisible lines of economics.
And you know, that leaves us with a really important question to chew on. Our cities are always growing, always expanding, pushing the price of land further and further out. So how is this delicate economic map going to be forced to adapt? What happens to all those farms on the edge? That's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for tuning in.